Everybody, we're back on the Hemmings Hot Rod Barbecue. Now, this week we've got a really special guest. We've got the one and only Jay Leno. Now, if you're a Hemmings fan, or if you're into cars in general, you probably know that Jay Leno is a car guy. And you probably have also heard that he's got some fantasy garage filled with hundreds and hundreds of cars. I'm here to tell you, one, it's all true. And secondly, he's really a great guy, just as much as you'd think he would be. He's pretty much the same in person as he is on TV, and whenever you've seen him. So we've got a great chat with him, and to show you and to kind of celebrate and to commemorate the Jay Leno episode of the barbecue. We always choose a car on Hemmings.com, our marketplace. And in this case, he's going to tell you a story that we just could not help but just cracking up over. And in honor of that story, then you'll find out, and it'll all make sense to you soon, we've got on Hemmings a 1964 Galaxy, a super rare Galaxy with a 427 R code V8 in it. The thing's worth a lot of money. It's a beautiful car, black with red interior. We think Jay Leno would approve. And so take a look at that on Hemmings.com, and also check out Hemmings Auctions. It's our new online auction. It's not that new. It's been around for a year now. And we've got a lot of great stuff for sale right now on that auction. None of the least of which is a bunch of little Honda 70 trail bikes, which we think is amazing. Anyway, we got to talking about that this morning. So stick with us. We'll be right back with the one and only Jay Leno on the Hot Rod Barbecue. Jay, welcome to the Hot Rod Barbecue.
Well,
our new podcast. Yeah.
I love a barbecue where there's nothing to eat. It sounds oh great. Oh, well, should I bring lunch? No, it's a Hot Rod Barbecue. Okay, great.
That's right.
You get there and of course you realize just two guys with beards here. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, two guys with beards and and lawn chairs and a timeout doll leaned up against our hot rod. Right. Yeah, that's how we roll. So I wanted to ask you, I'm sure you've been answering a lot of these questions, but especially as a car guy, since it's the Hot Rod Barbecue, how's this pandemic been affecting you? Have you been getting cars out? Do you have people over to the shop? I know that,
for me, it's actually, and I just wonder how many other car guys have used this excuse. Honey, I'd love to take you to the new vegan restaurant, but it's against the law.
Right.
Let me get some burgers from In-N-Out like we did the last 6 months, and
Right.
I'll take those home. And honey, I have to rebuild the carb in the sink because So actually, my life doesn't change a whole lot because I go to my house, I go to my garage, or I go to the studio and work. So to me, I'm here anyway. And I have to admit, I've tackled projects that for example, I have a 62 Maserati here that we restored 8-10 years ago. It's got a ZF gearbox and it got to the point where to put it in reverse, you had to shut it off, wrench it in reverse, start it up, release the clutch, go shut it off, put it in second, and it'd pop out a second and third. I parked the car, I said, it's too big a job. And we brought it over here and we just put a Tremec with a TKX, that new gearbox.
Yeah, the new TKX. Yeah, you put that into it?
Boy, and it's great. I went, oh, okay. And we actually got some work because a lot of times you just don't get time to get work done. You got like 4 hours. Okay, well, it's not gonna be enough time. All right, let me just drive something or take something else. And I realize there are people with bigger problems, but but yeah, that's what's really good. I've got an 8-liter Bentley, which is an English car. And what it has is the pulley on the crankshaft, on the damper, on the crankshaft. The keyway got a little chewed up. But see, on a Bentley, the end of the crankshaft goes through the front cross member. And the front cross member doesn't come out. So what you have to do is take the body off to remove the engine to replace the pulley.
That sounds so English.
Yeah, and I thought, well, when that was built, technology expensive and labor was cheap.
Right.
And so that car sat for months and we brought it over and then we realized, hey, wait a minute, the keyway is not that chewed up. Maybe we can use shims, tap it in, get some, what is it, the blue Loctite, and put it in there. Oh, and that worked fine. So, I mean, we've solved a lot of problems that I didn't think we would be able to fix. I had a Ford GT of 2005 and it was running cool. I couldn't figure out why it was running cool. And then we found out that, you know, the water here in California is very hard. And we had some calcium built up. It was holding the thermostat open just enough to keep the check engine light on because the engine was running 160, 165. Especially when you're on throttle, it wasn't bad, but
Yeah.
it's supposed to run 205, 210, something like that. So actually, I enjoyed solving those little problems. I'm not a vacation guy. I've never taken a vacation. I always think, really, don't you have something to do? You know, so there was no show business stuff to do. So I just came here and got to do stuff. So for me, it was not bad. I mean, I'm extremely lucky because you know, I'm going to be 71. I've made my money. Okay, everything at this point is gravy. I'm having a good time. I go out and I work, but it's just for fun to support the car. Okay, if it ends tomorrow, I got everything I could possibly need. So it's, for me, it hasn't been bad. I have friends that, you know, young people starting out in show business. I mean, they can't even go to a bar and tell jokes because you can't go into a bar. I mean, they can't do anything. So it's horrible for most. For me, it was not that bad because it happened at the end of my career instead of the beginning. So
Right?
the answer is not so bad.
That's not very clandestine sounding. Well, and also it sounds like you're also saying that the pandemic has basically removed the ability to make excuses to handle all those weird little obscure problems with all these cars that have been just festering for a long time, right?
Back in the 70s, to give an automotive analogy, when the American auto companies are fighting the government, we can't meet these emissions. If you do this, the cars will run terrible and people will lose jobs and the factories will close. The Japanese said, what's the standard we have to meet? Okay, and they met it and fine. And they took over the industry for the next 20 years until America got itself back on its automotive feet again. That being said, I am so proud of what Ford and GM and Chrysler are doing now. How they make this Corvette for $60,000 is unbelievable. I mean, you get Lamborghini, Ferrari performance for what, a third of the price, even 25% of the price. So I'm quite proud of all that. But and that's my attitude towards this. You try to make the best of it, you know.
This is my big question for you. What's your opinion of alternative power?
I mean, here's the way it works. If you're a racer, whatever makes it go faster. I remember when the trucking industry, all trucks looked a certain way. And then they developed that truck that had like the roof went over the top, it was aerodynamic, and all the truckers laughed at it and thought it was the stupidest looking thing. And then suddenly it got 25% better fuel mileage. And okay, give me that truck.
Give me that truck.
I mean, to me, Tesla was the smartest because they made a 4-door sedan that was, you know, roomy and all of that. But it was also the fastest accelerating car in America you could buy. So that's why I bought one. The ecology is a byproduct, the fuel saving, yeah, that's great. I bought it because it was the fastest accelerating 4-door sedan you could buy. And I just get the biggest kick out of that car. So to me, you know, for new technology to succeed, it can't be equal. It's got to be better in every aspect. The Wankel is a good example. The Wankel was a great engine, but you had to check the oil every second gas fill up, which is not a problem to me.
Right.
And it did tend to use a little bit of oil, and it probably got 2 to 3 miles per gallon less fuel economy than the equivalent gas. That was enough to kill it. I love them. I've got a few of them here. I find them fascinating.
The Mazdas. Mm-hmm.
But they're not good enough. They don't win all three. It's got to be faster, more economical, fuel efficient, you know.
Well, and I hear a lot of people complaining about, you know, they don't want to give up their gas cars. They don't want to give up their gasoline.
You don't have to give up anything.
Right.
I mean, this is something that, you know, it's like friends of mine, you know, I have all the rock and roll guys from the 50s and they hate rap. Yeah. And your parents hated rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Right.
It's still music.
Right.
I mean, electricity in cars and it's still cars going fast. You know, if you said to me, there are mandating cars that go slower, whether anybody knows or not, you're living in the golden age of American muscle cars, and because you live in an age now where even cars that aren't muscle cars. You know, Tim Allen and I did something on my show. He brought over a 67 totally stock GTO tri-power with all the options, and it was an automatic. and we raced it against a 4-door Nissan Altima V6, and the Altima won. Okay, I mean, okay, would I rather have the GTO? Yes. The
Right.
GTO sound better? Yes. But the Ultimate, I mean, it was close, but they weren't even trying. It's a grocery getter. It's a V6, and it beat the GTO. And you go, okay, what does that tell you? Cars have gotten faster, more fuel efficient. I mean, how much of it is nostalgia and how much of it is the real technology? I tell you, I drove the new electric Hummer, and that is unbelievable.
Really?
It's 0 to 60 in 3 seconds.
A Hummer in 3 seconds, 0 to
It's
60.
literally go, and you go, what?
What happened?
I mean, and all the arguments against the Hummer, except maybe, well, it is a little smaller, but not that much smaller, with the exception of maybe taking up space. It's fuel efficient. It doesn't pollute. It has 0 pollution. Now, I know people say electric cars. I'm talking about on the road. On the road, electric cars will always win because they give off no pollution.
Right.
You know, it's like the old joke about the idiot tried to kill himself. He locked himself in the garage for 4 days with the Tesla running. Fine.
Right.
Well, nothing happened. You know,
he just maybe bored himself to death.
Yeah. So to me, I think it's all good. I mean, it's technology. You can choose to use it or not. It's like self-driving cars. It's not. You'll always have to have a driver. You can't get in the back seat with a bottle of scotch and have the car take you somewhere. But I remember when power steering came out, oh, he has no road feel. And then I remember people complained about anti-lock brake. Now, when I step on the brake, I want my foot to do something, not some computer. Okay. You know, I remember when seatbelts came out. I want to be thrown clear. I don't want to have some stupid seatbelt keeping me in a burning vehicle. I mean, every bit of progress is met with anti-progress, you know. People who like progress, they don't like change. And they just like to keep things exactly the same. I welcome all this new technology because what it does, if you have more electric cars, suddenly you'll be allowed to use your hot rod, whatever, way more because it'll be like a snowmobile. You use it on weekends. Why would you drive a Hemi in LA traffic bumper to bumper every day at 5 miles per gallon? No, so use your electric car on the weekends, drive it to the car show, go up in the hills. I think it's all good. And I think ultimately the price of gasoline will start to come down because, hey, we're way too much of it now.
Wasn't there some weird story last year about, you know, gas actually being like negative dollars per barrel for a short minute there?
Every tanker in the world was full. It was sitting off the coast of Liberia and Germany and America, and they just couldn't unload the gas, you know. So
yeah.
That was the beginning of the pandemic. Yeah. So it all works its way out. But we are at the golden age of speed and efficiency. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, you have a Hellcat now that can actually stop and go around corners. I've got a 70 Challenger with a 426 Hemi and a 4-speed. And it's fun to look at, but it's like walking around with a rolled up sock in your pants. You know, it's impressive, but it doesn't do, it goes 0 to 60 in 6 seconds, you know, which is like, what? What? You can get one of those Chrysler minivans. It's pretty close to that.
Pretty close, right? Like getting walked by a minivan.
It makes noise, and you can actually watch the clock and the gas gauge sort of move together. I mean, I fill this thing up. I drive it around on a Saturday, and I'm empty at the end of the day. And I go, I went to the market and I came back, and then I went for a ride. I'm out of gas already at $80, really? You know, so no, it's all good. I'm very optimistic. See, I believe engineers will change the world. I think what's this guy's name? Malthus. He said the human population will die out because you can only feed 10 people on an acre of land. Well, now you can feed 1,000 people with an acre of land, and pretty soon maybe 10,000 for all I know. So, I think I'm an optimist. I think it's all good.
It sounds like it's all going to be all good. And I love what you say about this being the golden age of cars. We always say it's the golden age of muscle cars right now.
Right. You think about it. I mean, you have spark plugs that are not quite life of the vehicle, but 100,000 miles.
That's close.
I mean, when I was a kid, you change spark plugs like M&Ms, you know, you just, okay, pull them out. Look at this one. You know, now, when do you do that? You don't do anything. I mean, when you bought a Hemi Chrysler in '66, you got a 90-day warranty. And if they knew you were burning rubber with it, that was canceled.
That was canceled. That was
Yeah,
no more of that.
Abuse of vehicle, that. So, I mean, these cars, you can take them out, beat the crap out of them. They don't overheat. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
That is, you just mentioned something that I was always curious about too, because I know I've been to your shop, and a lot of a scant few of us have, and I've seen the incredible collection. But what started all this? Like, what was your first car, or what was your first favorite car?
Well, my first car was a 34 Ford pickup truck. I got it when I was 14. And my dad and I dragged it back to the house. I lived in a rural area where you could drive around fields and stuff.
Yeah, you're from New England.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And my dad said, you got 2 years to get this running before you get your license. So it was fun. I learned how to make it work. And I think it was good because I didn't pile 10 guys in it and a keg of beer and plow into a tree like my friends in high school did because their dad gave them a new car. It was mine and I fixed it. If it broke, I was screwed. So I took care of it and I used it. And I would recommend that to any dad, get the kid something he can work on himself. So you take some pride in it. I mean, I go to the car shows now and I meet a lot of kids like that. I met a kid the other day, he's 15 and a half and he got a 66 Mustang 6-cylinder, and he had it all tuned up and it was running. He drove it to the show and Mr. Look at my car. And wow, look at it. And it looked great. And it reminded me of myself when I was a kid. I said, well, that's what it should be. You get excited. It's not fast or a sports car,
but it's yours.
You can take him where he wants to go. And it's your first car. So yeah. And then what's cool.
Was your dad a hot rodder?
No, not at all.
Really?
My old man, I mean, I've told this story a million times, but it's so funny. My dad would just buy what was on the showroom floor. Give me that one. My dad used to get a car every 2 or 3 years, because in New England, by the second year, it's either rust bubbling on the fenders.
Right.
So we had a 64 Ford 500, Galaxy 500 XL.
Ooh, nice.
So we can go Shawsheen Motors in Andover, Massachusetts. I remember the salesman's name was Tom Lawrence. We walk in, my dad says, let me show me the big cars. And well, that's when the Mustang had just come out. So there were Mustangs and Falcons on the floor and a couple of Fairlanes, but no Galaxies. So my dad said, where are the big cars? The guy said, well, we don't have any big cars. I said, oh, we'll go down to the Chevy dealer. And, oh, Mr. Leno, please. I want to buy a car today. I want to buy something. So the guy said, Mr., you can order a car, My dad said, well, I don't know. He said, it'll be here in 4 to 6 weeks. And I said, Pop, let's order a car, So I don't know. Let's get the Galaxy 2-door. Let's get a 4-door. Let's get 2-door, Dad. Nice. So I took the salesman aside and I said to my mom, I said, Mom, can I order the engine? And my mom said, oh, let the boy order the engine.
Oh my God. How old were you?
Oh, I was 15 and a half. I was going to get my license.
You knew it. Yeah, you knew it.
Yeah. So I took the salesman aside and I said, we want the 7-liter. We ordered the police pursuit package, 390 gears, the C6 automatic. Oh, and the muffler delete option also.
Oh my God.
This had like glass packs.
Yeah, right. Like a 428 or something. Yeah.
So anyway, we order this car and we get the call like a couple of weeks later and we go in and my dad says, bucket seats. I don't want buckets. Dad, that's what they come with now. Oh, all right, fine.
Oh my God. You snowed him.
My dad gets in the car and he turns to the key and it goes, my father goes, there's a hole in the goddamn muffler. It's a brand new car. It's got a goddamn hole in the muffler. The salesman, what's the matter? So there's a hole in the muffler. Listen to that noise. And the guy says, oh no, Miss Lonnie, you ordered the muffler delete package. What do you mean muffler? Look, here you go. And my dad looks at it. He goes, police pursuit package. What the hell is that? Well, Mr. Leno, it's a high speed. Now my dad knows. My dad knows he's been screwed. So I've never seen him. He's just furious, So I get the goddamn car. Let's get out of here. So my mom gets in the front and I get in the back. And now my dad's mad. So he starts the car. My mother goes, it's so noisy. So my dad, he puts his foot on the gas just as he puts it in drive. And the thing goes, it starts fishing. He goes, and he just slams like he goes, it's a goddamn rocket ship. This thing's a goddamn rocket ship. The hell did I he's just screaming at me all the way home, So he literally doesn't speak to me for the next 2 weeks. He's just so mad about this, So then I'm in my parents' bedroom looking for something, and I see on the bureau, I said, he got a speeding ticket for 110 miles.
You weren't going to hear about that.
He went to the office. My dad, he had a lot of men under him. He was an insurance manager for Prudential Insurance. So, all the young salesmen in their 20s and early 30s. And they were like, Mr. Leno, is that your car? Suddenly my dad was like now the coolest guy at the office.
So cool. Yeah.
So he said, well, come on, let's take a seat. He took 3 of the guys for lunch and they got nailed going 110. And so from that point on, it was okay. But it was so stupid. It was so
You turned him into a hot rodder.
Oh, it was so stupid. To answer your question, no, my dad was not a hot rodder.
But needless to say, he kept the car. Like he didn't do it for that.
Oh, no, he
90-day.
kept the car until I wrapped it around a tree.
Oh.
And then I always wanted another one. And I found one in Canada. The 7-liter package was a 1-year option only in 1966. Ford had a campaign, the Iron Fist and the Velvet Glove and all this kind of stuff. It was supposed to be a full-size luxury, quote, GTO, you know, the big engine, but in the full-size car. And it was a fast car. It was great. So I found one up in Canada. I had Jack Roush build me an engine about 650, 700 horsepower. We put a 6-speed Tremec in it. We did 4-wheel disc brakes and a few other things. I still have it. It's a great.
Really. Having turned your dad into a reluctant hot rodder, did he keep up with the tradition? Did he ever buy anything else like that?
No. The next thing I got my dad when I started making show business, I got him a Cadillac. And my dad being Italian, I got him the Italian Cadillac, white with the red velour upholstery. I mean, this is like Elvis's coffin when you open the door.
So good.
Because my dad loved it. My mother hated it. When they would drive around, my dad would get so mad. Like my dad kept it immaculate because it was white.
Right.
And one day there was a stoplight and this guy's looking out the window. My mother motions the guy to roll in the window. And the guy goes, nice car. And my mother goes, we're not really Cadillac people. Our son got us this. And my father, we're driving a goddamn Cadillac because we're Cadillac people. So now they start fighting, right? And the guy takes off. And that's what, it was just hilarious. Just hilarious. My mother was so she would tell everybody, we're not really Cadillac people. We're regular car people. My dad he called the Cadillac the Rolls Royce of automobiles. I go, Pop, the Rolls Royce is a Rolls Royce of automobiles. But he used that expression for everything. So he made the Cadillac the Rolls Royce of automobiles. Yeah.
Do those two cancel each other out at some point? I'm not even sure how that works. Yeah. So I'm sure that Cadillac turned him into like the prime rib dinner at the restaurant instead of, just going for the sandwich.
It was just his, he'd never had a Cadillac. My dad had I think the next car he got was the 73 Buick Electra with the brocade upholstery, all that stuff from the late 60s and early 70s. But yeah, I mean, they were funny cars, but yeah. But my dad, he did love the Cadillac. Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really glaringly obvious, and I will say this as an East Coaster, as a native Pennsylvanian myself, and I think you've sit in a perch that you've got a good idea about this. There's a difference between a New Englander and an East Coast car guy and a West Coast car guy.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, I see it all the time. The East Coast, it tends to be a bit more hidden. In California, a guy will polish his 65 GTO in the driveway. In New England, it's in the garage with the door shut.
It's inside.
You don't want to be a show off.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. It's because, it is different. And plus it's way more do it yourself in the sense that in New England, you'll find a lot of what I call aspirational cars. A guy has a plumbing business, or he's a roofing guy and he's made himself some money. So he's got a ZR1 Corvette or something like that. Self-made guys they're not Lamborghini, Ferrari guys. They're, look, I'm not an idiot. I'm not wasting all my money, but I've saved this enough. There's no better value for the money than Corvette as far as performance, or Mustang too, for that. So there's a lot more of that. And you can usually spot the car guy in California. In New England, you see a guy who's got a briefcase and glasses and a suit on, and I've got a 29 Mustang of the Paxton Supercharger. Oh, really? And they don't see. It's just not as obvious. It's more kept.
Not as conspicuous, right? Yeah, they're a little more quiet about it.
There isn't quite the show-off factor. I don't see. I'll give you an example. When I was in New England, I worked at a place called Foreign Motors. And we had Rolls Royce and Bentley and a bunch. In those days, all the foreign car dealers worked out of one dealership because you didn't sell them. And one day we got a red Rolls convertible in, and it sat on the showroom floor for 18 months because in New England, every Rolls we sold was what they call sand over sable, charcoal gray over dark blue.
Very sedate.
Yes,
right?
red Rolls Royce. We sent it to California and it sold in 2 weeks. We just swapped it out and oh, it went in California. And that's sort of the difference. There's a bit more modesty, and guys don't talk to you, but like in New England, strangers come up right away. I mean, in California, oh, in New England, what kind of cars you like? And then, well, you know, I got a, oh, really? And then you find out what they have it. And then it's fine, you know.
Right. It's like it's those Puritan Quakers and stuff that came over and kind of still influencing our car decisions in New England, right? As opposed to the West Coast.
Yeah, there is that, and I have a certain amount of that Ethan Frome, Silas Marner thing when it comes to the cars and stuff. You don't want to be too show offy.
You're not wearing a lot of gold.
No,
with your cars, right?
You know, that's why I hate when I go and you see the guys with the gold chains and the turtleneck. No.
I see that a lot too in California. You're right. Like everyone, you can almost identify yourself by the kind of car you drive, or at least you're asked by that if you're a single guy. I think in some ways, what kind of car you drive.
Well, people are always amazed because when we go out to eat, I always take my wife's Fiat 500, just a little 10-year-old Fiat 500. People go, "Oh, where's your so and so? Why don't you have your McLaren there?" I'm not going to give it to a valet. Get out of your mind. In fact, you know, my wife used to argue about this all the time. I would never give a car to a valet. Just don't do it. And I had one of those Cyclone trucks.
Oh, yeah.
And we were going to this event, and I took the Cyclone truck. We get there, and it's like a fancy Hollywood kind of party. I can't find anything on the street. I go, well, the guy says, we'll valet it. Why do I want to? All right, fine. Oh, all right, fine. So I valeted. Okay, get it back, and everything's fine. Okay, fine. Then a couple of weeks later, my wife and I drive along in traffic. This guy pulls up to me. Hey, how you doing? I go, hi. Remember me? No. Well, 2 Saturdays ago, remember Saturday night out on whatever street it was? Remember you have the black Cyclone truck, right? Yeah, I raced you in that. And I raced. No, the valet had taken my truck out.
Oh no,
that wasn't valet. Yeah, I mean he didn't break it or anything, but
no.
My wife was there. You see, and so I was right.
So basically what you're saying is the Cyclone had a Ferris Bueller Ferrari California.
Yes, never give your car to a valet.
Yeah, right. I wanted to ask you too, not only what's coming up as far as what you might be looking forward to this year, but now that it seems like we're maybe seeing light at the end of the pandemic tunnel, are there shows that you're looking forward to seeing? Are there things that you're looking forward to getting out and doing that we couldn't do in the past year? I know Pebble Beach.
I like the regular. I just like the regular car shows. Sometimes the ones in California get a little too blingy. You know, I went to a great one. I was working a casino in Wisconsin. And they said, oh, the big car show is across the way. Oh, okay. So this is a Friday night. I was there and Saturday night. So Saturday afternoon, I walk over to the car show. And it's guys cooking bratwurst and whatnot. And guys about my age. And they're all talking about when the car they're going to build when the kids are out of college, you know?
Right.
You know, it's just so nice to talk about 55 Chevys and you know, Pontiacs with, you know, overhead cam 6s and stuff like that, as opposed to LA where it's all Lamborghinis and Paganis and whatnot. And just guys talking cars. And actually the car, I was the judge, the car I picked that won was a 66 Tempest with the overhead cam, 67 Tempest, with the overhead cam 6 in it. The guy restored it nicely. If you look close, it was an amateur painter, but he painted it himself.
Right, at home.
This is something that annoys me a little bit about some of the big car shows. Because to me, I would give extra points to somebody who did the work themselves over someone who writes a check. It's like, to me, if I go to a car show, I don't enter my car because I can afford to write a check to have somebody paint it. To go against a guy who's using Rust-Oleum cans and just making that paint, you know, buffing it, painting it, sanding it, painting it, it doesn't seem fair. So I'll go as a display only or something, because I don't want to. I spent $1 million and beat you. You painted your car. You don't want to be that guy, you know. Right. And I like those kind of car shows. They even have one here in LA called The Blessing of the Cars, which is primarily like Latino event. but it's little kids running all over the place, guys with guitars, they got barbecues and burritos and stuff being made, and the priest comes around and throws water on all the cars, does all that whole deal. And it just makes me laugh. It's a lot of fun. There's no judging. It's just a car show where you go to look at other people's cars and lie and tell car stories and
Right.
whatever like that. So as opposed to all the trophy nonsense,
Oh, the blessing. If that comes back again this year, that is one I would like to come down and see. That's
Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, it's just interesting because you get I am not a low rider guy, but the level of detail and workmanship, I have never seen paint. Like 64 Chevys, where each rose is hand painted on the hood.
Yeah.
And each one is different. And you go, this is unbelievable. I mean, and then I look at the hydraulics. I see no weeping around the joints. I see, where they all connect. There's no fluid coming out, I mean, admittedly, I don't get the whole jumping up and down, but I admire the workmanship and the craftsmanship of it. It's stunning. And I like to go to them now because I'm just amazed at the level of work that the guys do on these things.
Oh yeah, I think you had a lowrider at least on one of the episodes of your.
We've done it a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
A bunch of times, and you know something, the average view we get is maybe 300, 400,000. You do some of these lowriders, you get 2.3 million. You realize all of Latin America watches that, the whole Argentina, Brazil, they all because it's it's a little bit of Latino culture from LA, which I'm sure they get a lot of anyway, but they like to see it.
Now, I know you've talked about this a million times, and forgive me for asking again, but I had to. On your show, the Bob Riggle episode, are you still experiencing any back pain or anything like that from that episode?
No, that was fine. That was fine. Yeah, it just rolled. That was the deal. It's a classic definition of an accident. That raceway is a bowl. I don't think Bob realized that, and he went and got one wheel up, and it's a solid axle.
And so that's what did it.
He punched it. It kind of threw it sideways. And
yeah.
We went over. But it was all right. I mean, it was great for ratings, but
oh man.
Nobody got hurt. I mean, the most fun was when after we rolled, the guy wrote it, goes, "What's your name?" He said, "Bob Riggle." "How old are you?" 81. And he said to me, "What's your name?" I said, "Bob Riggle." "And I'm 80. One of these two men is Bob Riggle. Will the real Bob Riggle please stand up?" So that got a big laugh, and I thought that was fun.
Well, the real Bob Riggle, please crawl out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Is Pebble Beach in your future this year?
If they do Pebble, I'm certainly going to try. I'm doing this game show, You Bet Your Life, So, and we do 6 shows a day for 12 weeks. So I'm going to try and sneak Pebble Beach in if I can. But if not, no. But I certainly will try. But I've always been a judge, and we do charity events up there and stuff and giveaways. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope so.
What have you not gotten your hands on yet that you'd really like to have in the shop?
Well, I always say, be happy what you have. Just make sure you have enough. That's my attitude. But, I buy the story as much as I buy the car. And by that, I mean, sometimes you don't know what you want until you see it. I had an old man call me, 93 years old, one day. He goes, "Jay Leno." He tells me, "I'm 93 years old. I can't drive anymore. I got a 67 Chrysler Imperial Crown Coupe, twin air conditioners front and back, And he said, and it's gold, like Mr. Drysdale's car from the Beverly Hillbillies, you remember that. And I said, "Well, I'm not really looking for a 67 Chrysler Imperial. That's a big car." He goes, "I'm the original owner." I said, "Okay, original owner. That's pretty good." He said, "I had the car serviced by Chrysler at my house once every couple of months. The guy from Chrysler would come out, change the oil, da, 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 da." I said, "Oh, okay." Then he said, "I bought a bunch of spare parts in case I have an accident, fenders, bumpers, wipers, motors, all this stuff in case it ever got damaged, but it didn't. So if you buy the car, this goes with it." And I'm thinking, "Oh, what?" I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, I'd like to see it." He goes, "You come see it anytime you want." And I'm thinking, I don't know where he is. Maybe he's San Francisco or San Diego. I said, "Where are you?" He goes, "I'm on Sunset Boulevard in Beverly Hills." I go, "Well, that's like 4 miles from my house." I go, "You're on Sunset Boulevard." And those are like the rich houses. I mean, mansions. So, well, this has got to be a good story. I said, "Can I come over like right now?" He goes, "Yeah, come on over now." So I drive, and big gate, and you press the button. Jay Leno, come in. And the gate's open. I'm like William Holden in that movie, Hollywood Boulevard. I go up a long driveway, and he's standing in the driveway. He's got an ascot and a smoking jacket and the silver hair. He's got a white-haired guy next to him he goes, "This is my mechanic. He's 70-something years old. He wants to retire." That's another reason I'm getting rid of it. I said, okay. Turns out he is a movie producer, and he made African-American films for African-American audiences, but real films. He had like the Black James Bond, the Black Gene Autry, the days when the theaters would say, he made all these films. Right? He goes, "Well, let me show you the house." He takes me in, and the house looks like a brand new house from 1948. All the furniture is immaculate. It's just old, And I see a picture of this beautiful woman like this, painted. And I go, "Who's that?" He goes, "That's my wife." So, well, she's certainly beautiful. I said, "Is she still with us?" "Oh, yeah, she's in her bedroom." So I go to the bedroom. Now he goes, "Honey, Jay Leno's here." She goes, "Oh, hi, Jay. Jay, I can't come out right now. I'm kind of busy." And the old guy says to me, "She doesn't look like that anymore." And I said, "Well, I'm sure she's still beautiful." He goes, "Oh yeah, but she doesn't look like that anymore." I said, "Well, that's okay." I said, "Right, can I see the car?" I go, "Okay." He takes me out in the drive. He goes, "Let's take a look at the car." So he opens the thing, and there's basically a brand new 67 Imperial.
Wow.
A lot of miles, 140,000 miles, but it looked brand new because he just replaced things. If anything got scratched or dented, and it's perfect. Well, now I have to buy the car.
Yeah, you're stuck. You can't.
I mean, I just love the story. So that's what happens. People call you all the time. And you know who John Frankenheimer, the director, he did Grand Prix and Ronin, famous director.
Yeah.
He bought a 65 Rolls Royce on an impulse for his girlfriend, who was then his wife. And he kept till the day he died, and she still had it. On June 6, 1968, he took it to the Ambassador Hotel. He's waiting there at the back door, waiting for Robert Kennedy to come out so he can take him to dinner. And that's the night Kennedy got assassinated at the Ambassador Hotel. And he was taking him to dinner in that car. And, just that kind of history where you go, "Oh, that's fascinating. That's interesting." So I buy the story as much as I buy the car. I mean, I like the story of the movie producer. It's just kind of an interesting piece of history, a big house in Beverly Hills. And in 1967, you bought a Chrysler or a Lincoln or an Imperial because it was better than a Rolls Royce. Well into the 50s, Rolls Royces were stick shift on the floor with roll-up windows, no air conditioning, 6 cylinders. He got American cars with V8s, power windows, air conditioning front and back, power seats, all these kind of things. And this thing drives like a dream. It's so funny because it's a complete absence of road feel. If there's any road feel, there's something wrong with your car. I mean, you drive it like this, one finger, and you just sort of blow on the brakes and it stops. I mean, it just makes me laugh driving this. I do. I feel like Mr. Drysdale from the Beverly Hillbillies, driving around. And the Beverly Hillbilly house is right around the corner from me. So sometimes I drive by in this thing, and it just makes me laugh.
Just park it and stop. Yeah.
It's just funny. It just, it makes no sense, but it's
awesome. Well, Jay, I cannot tell you how much we appreciate you taking some time with us today.
Well, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it, my friend.
We'll have to do this again sometime. It may be in person next time.
Call me anytime.
Thanks for listening, folks. And again, please subscribe to the Hot Rod BBQ podcast. If you're on Spotify, check us out there. Subscribe to it on iTunes. And if you are going to go to YouTube, make sure you go to the Hot Rod BBQ podcast and hit that subscribe button, and we'll come to you every week.